I just think about that experience and what if our skin color was different, driving 1 o'clock in the morning with no taillights in rural Owego. So that's kind of what that song is more about.
And welcome to the latest edition of the Noon 15 podcast. And as usual, we're throwing you a bit of a curveball. Over our next few segments, we'll be spotlighting some solo work that the band members have been doing in the months since they've all played together. I couldn't be happier to talk today with guitarist Joe Massa about his new solo album, Conundrum. Joe, we've been doing this a long, long time, but through all that, we've never actually gotten to chat one-on-one like this. You know, it's always been with another band and everything. So I guess to kind of get started, on any pre-pandemic day, Joe, you're in something like 4 bands, at least 2 side projects going. You know, I wonder, is a solo album something you've always wanted to do, but just the time was never there? Or is this really more a product of just being isolated for months?
Well, both. Yeah,
Fair.
for sure. I've always wanted to do it. Yeah, but yeah, I've always just been in bands, and the stuff that I've written and putting my energy to always just kind of goes to that. So the time has never really been there. Plus the resources too. You know, I didn't have much recording gear and stuff like that, so I would have had to, coordinate with somebody else. So yeah, I'd always wanted to do it, but just never really had the time or wherewithal. And then everything came to a screeching halt, and I had to find some way to channel my musical energy. And
I mean, the creativity doesn't just stop, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was tough for a while, but it was nice to at least have something to, work on and occupy that part of my mind. So I didn't go totally bananas, but
Absolutely. Yeah. And so as you said, you've kind of always wanted to do something like this. Did you always imagine that you would be doing everything the way that you did, playing all the instruments, recording, mixing, all of that?
not the recording part of it. But I've always wanted to do something where I play all the instruments. I'd also, we'll probably talk about this a little bit more later, but I'd also like to do kind of what Sam's doing, or, an album of your stuff and you feature all your friends.
Sure.
But yeah, I've always wanted to play all the instruments. Just, I've always kind of done it, either recording demos for bands or just for fun or whatever, but never really in a serious capacity. But I've always wanted to, be able to take that time and be able to play drums and bass and stuff on an album. And but the recording and mixing and stuff was never something I really thought that much about. So that was a little overwhelming at first, but I got there.
Yeah, it came together really well. I mean, am I right? This was your first kind of crack at recording and mixing an album too?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, serious. Yeah. Other than just, demos on GarageBand, or back when I was in high school, I had a little 4-track cassette recorder that I used to mess around with, but never anything that I would release to the public or anything like that. So yeah, this is the first time anything, digital or whatever. So yeah, it was a brand new experience for me on all ends.
Yeah, that's
But
great.
it's nice to at least have a little bit more knowledge. And I mean, I've obviously been in recording studios all the time and around people that know stuff. So it's not a totally foreign thing, but me being at the helm is definitely very foreign. So
yeah,
but it's a nice, at least a little bit of knowledge to be able to have in my back pocket now, and hopefully it can just get better from here.
Yeah. And who doesn't love that much control, right? I know I should do. Would you just real quick run down all the instruments that you did play on this?
Obviously, guitar, drums, bass, a little bit of keyboard. A lot of the stuff in there that sounds like keyboard is probably me playing guitar through my synth pedal. There is some actual keyboard on there too. And then just various percussion that I have lying around here. And lots and lots of guitar layers.
How many different guitars did you use across these 6 songs?
All of them, all the ones that I own make an appearance, with the exception of the baritone guitar that I just got. If I had that during this, that probably would have made it on there. But yeah, every guitar that I own made an appearance nice. Somewhere.
Did you mess? I'm curious, with the post production. Did you mess with effects much, or was pretty much all the effects we heard coming right out of your board?
I messed with them a little bit, but most of it was from my pedals. But yeah, I did a little bit, particularly on some some bass, I think, and it was mostly actually from the pedals.
Okay.
I got that Boss synth pedal shortly before I started recording that, and that was a fun little tool to be able to have in the studio to replicate some other sounds from my guitar.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and obviously you're versed in using the pedal board anyway. We see you on stage with that and everything all the time. Yeah, but these from start to finish, the first time I listened through this, it has the flow of a complete album. You know, like 0 Hour just feels like an opening track. You know, kind of leading you in like that. Baba Foz, is that how you say it? The
Baba
last song?
Foz.
Baba Foz. That's the classic party song at the end of a Joe Massa album, right? What can you say about wanting this to be more of a complete album than just a collection of songs?
Well, yeah. So when I decided that I wanted to do an album, after the sort of shock of COVID wore off, and I realized, all right, it's going to be a minute before I can play with bands, so I got to figure something out. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. I did a few live sort of video things that I put on Facebook that didn't really do much for me. So I got to create something and put something out there. So I have a bunch of songs from the past 15 years that didn't make it into bands or were for bands that never got off the ground or whatever. So I was like, cool, I have plenty of material. And then I was looking through it and trying to come up with something. None of it really gelled together at all because they were all from completely different eras of my life and
interesting
and musical career and stuff. So I was like, I guess I got to start from scratch. And I didn't really know. I recorded the tune Time Box was the first one that I played. And that was more just like an experiment to see, how things sounded.
Can I pull this off?
Playing everything and stuff. I wasn't really going to use that for anything, but I was like, I could maybe build something around this. And then, I kind of wrote and recorded the songs like one at a time, but there was always that just trying to be aware of what was previously I had already recorded and sort of the mood. I mean, it kind of goes all over the place anyway, but I guess being all of it recorded in the last year, it all sort of feels kind of cohesive just because it's been such a bizarre times.
Hard not to have some of that weight on it, yeah.
Right, yeah.
How do you name an instrumental song? That's always fascinated me, let alone like a whole collection of them or an even overall album. Like, were you trying to write music that conveyed a certain mood, or did it all just end up conveying a mood anyway? And like, to go with that too, does Conundrum represent anything specific to you here?
So, great question. Yeah, I did not have, that was a unforeseen challenge. I was like, I got to title these. Like, what are they about? So I didn't necessarily have a mood per se, but like I sort of came up with the titles as I was going, and they sort of represented kind of whatever I was feeling at the time. And so that a little bit maybe
they feel appropriate,
comes in the music. As for the title, like that was tough, but it was kind of just, I was in a conundrum when I was trying to figure out what the hell to do with my life. So I was like, I don't know. I heard it's a word that Michael Kay uses all the time, the broadcaster for the Yankees.
Oh, does he? Okay.
I was like, oh yeah, that's fitting. So I went with that. Yeah. And then, the titles are basically just stuff representing what's just been happening in the past year, various things,
Yeah. Is Baba Foz a real word?
No.
Okay.
Mason made my son Mason made that up.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that one and Time Box I originally was gonna write lyrics. I did write some lyrics to it and was thinking about singing it or having somebody singing it, and that was like a hook in the song. So those two, and the rest of them I kind of had to get into them a little bit and and figure out kind of where my head was at when I was,
Yeah,
writing
yeah.
them. And
like it's funny you say. It's interesting that you were writing some lyrics for one of these. Off to the Races, for example, which is a great name for that because that's just what it feels like. But it's the like you're basically singing the lead vocal part. The guitar is in that song.
yeah, that was kind of my goal. Yeah. Yeah, that one actually does have some me talking in the bridge. You're not really supposed to be able to hear it, but it's like, yeah, that has kind of a different meaning than what it sounds like. I don't know if I should tell this. Well, you can use it or not, but when I was like 18 or 19, a bunch of friends of mine went out to the drag races out in Owego.
Ah, yes.
So we drove out there. We indulged in quite a bunch of adult beverages. Like I said, we were like 18 or 19. My car had no taillights at the time. We did have a sober driver.
That's good.
So we're driving back at like 1:00 in the morning, and of course we get pulled over. We're like I said, all of us underage, all have open open containers in the car, drugs, whatever. The only thing that happened to us was we got a no taillight ticket. Didn't have to get out of the car. We had to dump the beers. That was it. So like with all the stuff that has been going on with, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all that, I just think about that experience and what if our skin color was different driving 1:00 in the morning with no taillights in rural Owego. So that's kind of what that song is more about then. But it also does sound, so it's, I guess, a double meaning. But
no, but you were at the races that night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm saying some stuff in that bridge there that's like quotes from that night and stuff like that.
Like things you guys are saying to each other and all that.
Yeah.
Man, that's heavy stuff.
Yeah, it's heavy. So, I don't know. Maybe all of us should think about times in our lives where maybe something like that happened to us and it could have been different if things were different.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes the most important thing we can do is just recognize that very fact.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Good
That's
stuff,
as
man.
deep as I'll get on that.
No, fair. But thank you. Thanks for sharing that, man. Thank you. So I guess we'll just try to come out of that story in an appropriate way, right? Again, it is interesting to me to hear that you had some lyrics in mind for at least one of these songs. I was wondering, you obviously write songs for New 15, through Spectrums. Do you feel that you approach a song differently when you're certain that no one's going to add lyrics to it?
It took me a second to get to that, but the first couple of songs I kind of formatted it in more of a pop sort of, and then I realized I'm like, this is all music, so like I can bend the rules quite a bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, at first I kind of approached it the same kind of way, but then I just just got a little bit more liberal with things as I got more used to the process, because that's another thing that I'd never written, even though I'm not a singer, I've never really written music with the intention of it being instrumental, aside from, a few random tracks on albums here and there. So that was something that I had to kind of learn how to do again too. And I was listening to some more instrumental music, because most of the music I listen to is vocal stuff. But I was listening to like Eric Krasno's first solo record, which is awesome, and this band Kung Fu that's like probably 75% instrumental, and some Lettuce and other instrumental stuff, just to get sort of that kind of in my head, just to hear whatever, obviously, Snarky Puppy and Soul Alive and all that great stuff, sort of jam that in my head, what instrumental music is kind of quote unquote supposed to sound like.
Yeah, not just verse, chorus, verse, bridge kind of thing, right? More to it than that.
Exactly, yeah. yeah, so I definitely messed around with song form quite a bit more and added more layers than maybe you normally would if you're trying to highlight a vocalist.
Yeah, nice. You had talked a little bit about how you had started with trying to pull like from old stuff you had, and then you realized pretty quickly, like, okay, this isn't relevant anymore. In your process of coming up with all this new stuff, did you come across anything that was like, hey, this would work really well with Noon 15 or through Spectrums? I should set this aside. Or is this like, is what we're hearing like everything you came up with when you were trying for this,
There may have been a few things here and there that I sort of took a break with, and through Spectrums is working on some new material right now. So the processes may have overlapped a little bit, but for the most part, yeah, it was just when I started, I had like little bits and pieces for every tune. Like at the beginning, I just knew I had to like finish them. I knew I didn't want to make it much longer than like 5 or 6 songs. I had seedlings for 5 or 6 songs, and I just sort of knocked those out one at a time. And
Yeah. During the recording and everything for the first time, like you did, did you run into anything that was like, wow, I didn't think this would be so easy?
kind of a lot of it, honestly. Like
Nice.
I was intimidated about just like getting set up and running, but like because it's just so foreign to me. But I mean, I watched like a couple of little tutorials on just how to basically run it, and then I just sort of the more I did it, the more I got used to the program. And but just being able to get up and get started was a much simpler process than I expected, and to get things sounding halfway decent felt a little bit easier than it should have. I was just expecting something to fuck up along the way, or some snag, but it didn't for the most part. And knock on wood, it didn't
That's a
really
good thing, man.
really
Yeah.
occur. Yeah, like you know. So there's obviously always things to learn about just the general recording process, and I'm just hoping I can continue to just improve and get better on that end, and maybe acquire some nicer gear over the years and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was an easier process than I anticipated to be. I was overwhelmed at first, but that quickly went away once I started doing it. I mean, the hardest thing for me, I think, was recording the drums.
Interesting.
So I'm still not really set up for that well. Like I have to like record to a click track on my phone, and hop, hit record, hop behind the drums. If I fuck up, I have to stop and climb back out, hit stop, go over again. So
Right, as opposed to like being able to monitor while you're playing to
right,
something.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I'm not
That's
a
even more
drummer,
impressive.
so laying down the drum tracks did not come as easily as laying down the guitar, even the bass for me. So, and that's like the first thing that I did.
Okay.
So, but
Dive right in, right?
but yeah, once I I mean, it wasn't that bad, but there were definitely times where I threw sticks across the room and yelled very loudly that got recorded and stuff. When I got them done, I feel mostly all right about them. I would look forward to doing a solo record where somebody else plays the drums at some point too, because I think that could be fun, and it could. I feel like that's a problem that I have, is that I play with and listen to so many great drummers that's what I hear in my head when I'm writing something, and then I try to do it. I'm like, oh, I'm not Dan Collins. I can't do that. So I have to do something kind of like that, but I want to do what he would do, but I can't. So maybe someday, but not this time. So I did the best with what I could.
Yeah, you absolutely did. And no, I mean, as you said, you're a guitar player, you're not a drummer. But I mean, dude, especially hearing now how you recorded those, it's even more impressive. It came out really, really well.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
appreciate you saying that.
Sounds really great. Would you do this again? Record it yourself and everything?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Nice.
I plan to. Yeah, like I said, I plan to do various things now that I have it, and I'm just, it's here in my house, so like, why not And yeah, I'm probably gonna do some recording stuff and mixing with through spectrums, and yeah, I plan to just, who knows what kind, maybe just like a song here or there, maybe an album, maybe something with other people. Amanda and I talked about doing something together, like a solo or duo type record. Yeah, maybe another solo thing where maybe I get guests to sing on, or maybe I even venture down that road. Who knows? We'll see.
I've literally never heard that all this time.
I don't
Hey,
know.
get those 5-part harmonies in Noon 15.
As long as I'm low in the mix, I think I just don't want to fart all over what they do.
You kind of just answered my next question a little bit, but obviously, like, the old "what's next" is ludicrous to try to think about right now because none of us know anything. But I mean, you kind of just ran through it though. It sounds like you got some plans for what else you want to do.
Yeah. We're focusing on, we're trying to get this Through Spectrums thing up and running. Once that's off the ground, we'll release some more details about that. And yeah, I'll probably try and write some more stuff, or I always have stuff to go back on. I talked to a friend of mine from Boston that we always sort of wanted to play music together, but never really been able to match up. He's another guitar player too, so we might do some kind of duo guitar record with him.
Cool.
I don't know. Whatever comes up, I guess I'm open-minded to to the projects, but yeah, I'm definitely planning on continuing and expanding my music via the internet, I guess, is the best way to do things right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, obviously I'm itching to get back on stage, but I'm not in a hurry necessarily either. I want to wait till, things are good and safe and somewhat close to back to normal-ish, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know exactly what that means, but
I'm not sure anyone does right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is exciting to think that that's closer than it was, a few months ago, at least now.
It seems like there might be a light kind of at the end of the tunnel. Let's hope.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we get to enjoy kind of the creativity that's been going on over the past year. That's something
that has been the silver lining for sure.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of people have just been figuring out ways to do it. Like, it doesn't stop. The music doesn't stop. You just got to get more creative, and that's what the whole thing is, a creative field. So that's what we do, is we find creative ways to express our art.
Yeah.
If we can't do it in person, the next, I guess, I can't imagine what this must have been like, back in the influenza
1918.
thing. Yeah, like I don't know. I can imagine.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to things inching their way back. So we're going to hear one tune now off the album. The full album, Conundrum, can be found on Bandcamp. The song list is 0 Hour, Time Box, and Essential Maneuver, Off to the Races, Makeshift Dawn, and Babafos, and a Mason Massa original word. Off to the Races is the song that we're going to end with here. And Joe, this has really been great, man. Thank you for sharing this with me. Thanks for taking some time to sit down. Thanks, Sam, for facilitating all this for us. And it's really been a pleasure, man.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Off to the Races from Joe Massa.
Thanks for listening to the Noon 15 podcast. Visit noon15.com to subscribe and for more music, videos, and info on upcoming shows. If you like what you hear, tell your friends and leave us a review on iTunes. Tune in next time for another trip behind the scenes with Noon 15.